Hey, welcome back to Day at the Dude Ranch. Captain James Nelson here, and we're working on the Knob Boy. We've got this guitar that we've got to put frets on. Alright, so I got you a closer detail of what we're going to be doing. This thing is getting pretty shiny. Rub it off. It is raining really hard right now outside. I don't know if you hear that, and I do apologize for the last few clips that maybe had too much fan noise on. I got my fans hooked up on a switch, so look. It's like right now we're not creating dust. I don't need my dust fans going, but when I do, I hit that. Now you can hear them, they're going. Now I've got them on a switch, so I don't have to reach over on each one and turn them off. That was, yeah. When you're cutting fret wire, always cut it sideways so you're not rolling up the tang at all. These things are cool. This is actually made for cutting plexiglass and Lexan, but look at that. It cleans fret slots so well. You can get these at pretty much any home store, any place that sells Lexan / plexiglass. And I'm just getting some of the Goomba. That's the technical term for this, by the way. That's what that stuff is. Sometimes you might have a spot where maybe you got a little CA in there. It's not going to clean that out. You just got to come back with the saw on that. I know guys have been requesting more real-time footage, and so I'm going to give it to you, but just keep in mind, I am not the best person out there when it comes to doing some of this stuff. I'm just showing you what I know based on what I've learned, and based on the fact that I'm still a student myself, very much so, and I'm still learning a lot. There's a lot to be learned. So if this is your first video that you've ever seen on how to install frets, A, I apologize. B, look for others to follow as well. Don't just go off this one. I'm just going to give it just a couple squirts of water and then take this Titebond. And you could do this with pretty much any soft materials glue. Some guys use CA on this, but it can be quite messy, so I don't like to use CA for this. Now the other thing I like to do is I'll take myself one of these popsicle sticks and I just cut a little wedge on it. Make myself a little wedge with this, your chisel. And what I'm doing is essentially making a wicking device. Okay? And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to take some of this glue, we're going to wick it into the slots, put our frets in, and go from there. It just kind of helps ease the tang in if you do this first. That's what we're doing. That's how you can tell we got a lot of oil in this ebony. It makes that scratchy slate sound. Now if you remember, we radius this thing at 12" for radius on the fretboard. So what I did is on my call for my clamper, I made sure that I put a 12". I get this kit for these things. Comes with all the different sizes, so pretty cool little deal. Let me put that out of the way, someplace where it's going to fall over, make a big mess, make a big noise. And then this can go really quickly, which is why I wanted to do this method. Some of these I do pre-cuts and cutting the tangs and all that. This one's not going to need that. I do my frets a little differently than some people, whereas I like to check it with the rocker as I go. Put that in there. I'm a little sloppy with it, but that's okay. That's what paper towels are for. And I just want it to wick in there if I can. That was the whole idea of making this wicking device. And I like to go 3 at a time. If it's your first time, go 1 at a time. I highly suggest it. And you can see I've got a little bit of ebony powder from where I clean those slots, mixing in with that glue. That's okay, because what we're doing is we're creating basically our own little material that's going to hold that fret in for us. Now I like to use the hammer trying to get it started, and then take my cutter and cut. And remember, I'm going the same direction as the tang here. And I went over the edge. I like to go over the edge a little bit. I kind of went a lot on that. And then, hey, get back in there. What the hey, dude? I think I've got my roll twisted. Now that's the other thing, is my roll already is at a 12-inch radius. It's actually probably a little tighter than that. Now, if you get a fret to want to play along, then just get rid of it. That's what that one is. I think there's something in there. Yeah, sure is. Oh my gosh. I thought we checked these things. Okay. Try that again. I used to panic when I first started doing this, and I'm telling you now, don't panic, even though it's your first time. The other thing on the radiusing, if you want a little tighter radius, all you got to do is the garden hose trick. Now you could buy some really expensive gear to help you radius it, but look at that. And I don't want it any tighter than this. Now if you want to get a really good, tight, accurate radius on the whole length of the fret wire, yes, get yourself one of those nice tools. But for what we're doing, the little garden hose trick works just fine. And I'm going to try that again. Like I say, I used to panic anytime I had a fret that just didn't want to pay attention. I thought I'd have to start all over and hurry up and get that glue out. This is one of the reasons why I don't like using CA. If we were using CA right now, we'd be in trouble. And I am just basically just hitting it with the little orange hammer right now. It's just enough to get it to stick in there. As you can see, that didn't work. That one worked. Okay, good. Then the rest we're going to do over here, if we could ever get there. It's in. And this is really, I love this machine. You could feel it just get in there. You don't have to pull really hard, although I do have this screwed down onto the bench. You don't have to pull that hard with it. Get in there. Now I'm just going to take this oily rag and just wipe it a little bit. Force the glue into where it needs to be and out and away from where we don't want it. On this rag I've just got basically a little bit of mineral spirits and oil. That's it. So now we've got those in. Now here's what I do that's a little different. Most guys I know like to do everything all at the end. You know, they'll do the rocker thing when it comes time to finishing the frets. I like to do it as I go. It's just less to do. And if there's a problem, I'm going to know about it right now. Now, did you notice when I was cutting those, I cut them this way? That's because I kind of want it to pinch and lock in. Some guys will continue to cut that way, and that's fine, but I don't like it. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm checking the rock on that one. If this one is higher than these two, your rocker's going to rock, and then you're going to know. At this point, they look good. So I'm just going to keep going. If I wasn't doing this with the video, I would probably have less mistakes than I've already had, because you know that's Murphy's Law. But not only that, but it's just become something that, because you're not talking about it as you're doing it, you just do it and you just knock these things out. But if it's your first time doing it, don't be shocked if it takes you an hour. And that's okay. Take your time. It only goes in one way, so if it's not going in easily, you know there's something wrong with it. And it's real easy to fix. Don't force it. If you have to force it, there's something wrong. And if there's something wrong, fix it. Make it right. pretty easy stuff. It's amazing just how easy this actually can be. It's one of the things when I first started making guitars that I really feared. But once you start doing it, you realize just how easy it is. Now I talk about doing some of these steps as you go because it saves you later in the long run. But one thing we're not going to do once we get all these frets in is we're not going to level them and crown them. That I like to do after I've had the neck shaped and sat for a moment. Kid, I'm talking about our weather right now being a little wonky. Going from humid to dry and back and forth is not uncommon in my area. And I know that when I shape the neck that I am creating a lot of friction and heat on that wood, and that transfers all up and down that neck. And that can take what I think is a full adjustment and knock it out. If I was to level and crown them right now, I would have to come back and redo it. Now what I'm doing is basically what's going to be repeated throughout the whole process. So watching this in full time is probably not necessary for you to learn any more than what you already have. I've got nothing more to say about doing frets because I don't know anymore. That's the truth.
Here's an idea. Let's carve a neck.
Now you guys have seen me do this before. I'm using the oscillating belt sander. This is a combo unit, so I could put a spindle on there if I want, but I like getting the belts because I can get them, these aftermarket belts. This is a 40 grit, and look at it, just chews away that mahogany, so it really digs in and just takes it off, and it's kind of cool because I normally, or I should say otherwise, if I wasn't using this, I would have to put the neck down on a bench of some sort and carve it from the backside with either the shinto or the angle grinder. And those are great techniques too. They work really well. And what I'm doing here with the pencil is I'm drawing facet lines. And if you just draw those lines on each side of what you want to cut to, and then draw a line down the middle, or just imagine down the middle, and then you just cut to each of those lines, and it's a good way to basically put a facet shape. Just think of like a diamond or an octagon, how it just cuts down, and then from there you could round the facets pretty easy. I don't always do it. A lot of times I just visualize it, but for your sake here I put the pencil line so you could see it. And what I'm doing with the calipers is basically the end formula here I want is a 1921. What that means is 19 millimeters at the first fret, 21 millimeters at the 12th fret, and continues on to the neck pocket. So basically that's what I'm looking at, trying to get to the eventual size. But I'm starting with the calipers with the 40 grit. I'm not going to cut down that far because I know I have to sand a bunch more to get it to a nice polished finish. So I'm starting with the, I think a 2124 on that formula first. Actually on the 40 grit I might even be a little higher. Now I'm switching to an 80 grit. And now I think I'm going to pull it into a 2124. And then I'm going to go to a 1921 by the time I get to 220 grit. And that's as far as you want to go with it at this point, is a 220. Because we are going to put some oil on this neck. We're not going to put a big, thick spray finish, but we are going to put some oil on it. and 220 is just perfect for it to grab the oil varnish mixture and get it right in there. This is why I don't do the headstock ears. You notice the headstock is very square. This is why, because I like using this machine and it just helps me hold it together a lot better. If I did the headstock shape already, it doesn't really fit well on there, and it's kind of wobbly, kind of hard to get everything nice and squared. This is why I keep it like this, and then I'll glue on the ears later. Probably see that on next episode, because this is about as far as we're going to get on this one. And the next episode is going to include the fretwork and of course the shaping of the headstock, get the ears on and get the tuner holes drilled. It's going to be fun. So yeah, you got to make sure you check it out. It's going to be good. This is a lovely guitar. It's coming together quite well, and I've got a lot of other guitars that are all just, everything's coming together. I'm really liking it, so hope you do too.
Next time on Day at the Dude Ranch.
A day of this dude at the Dude Ranch making stuff.